Call to order the Thursday, April 3rd, 2025 City of Conway Planning Commission meeting. Our first item is, if we have to rearrange this agenda, do we need to do that before we start?
You can do that when you get to
that point?
That section.
Okay, just triple checking. All right, so our first item is to approve the minutes from the March 6th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. I did have one revision on item B, rezoning request 1. The very last sentence in there, it says the motion carried unanimously with Ulrich voting in opposition, so it should be 5-1, I think. And then on the others, the Rachel Sullivan and Nate Roman folks instead of Brown folks. And that's the only two things I got.
And where was your second one?
In the others, on the first page, present, absent, staff, others, is Nate Roman folks.
Said Brown, Roman.
Yeah. All right. Anybody got anything else?
Good eyes.
I'll make a motion to approve with the amendments.
Second.
We got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So moving on to public input. So this is the portion of the meeting that anyone from the public can come up and speak. Just state your name and address, and then we'll give you about 3 minutes. We also are going to have public input on the individual items. So if you're here for any individual item, you'll have an opportunity to speak at that time as well. But if there's anyone from the public, all right.
That's for the general public.
Yes, sir.
Individual.
Sorry,
Okay.
first timer.
Oh, you're good.
You're
Thank you
good.
for being here.
We've all been there.
All right. Seeing none, I will make a motion to close public input.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alrighty. Moving on to item 4, subdivisions. Number 1, Kingston Preserve Phase 1.
Yes, Kingston Preserve, which is formerly called Pelican Point, is a single-family subdivision to be developed as a conservation subdivision. There are 3 phases proposed in all to contain a total of 407 single-family lots once complete. Phase 1 proposes to contain 134 single-family lots, and this project also received a design modification in early 2024 regarding the use of a temporary emergency access easement for Phase 1 to satisfy requirements for ingress and egress, and regarding the open space being platted in phases rather than all with the initial phase, as was the requirement at that time. The applicant is now seeking approval of the layout of Phase 1, as well as approval of street names, Greenhouse, Kings Branch, Monarch, Nature Haven, and Tycoon, which have all been reserved by Horry County addressing. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. I'm not sure if the applicant is present for this one or not. I don't see them here, but this is just, standard planning commission review for just the first phase.
Okay. All right. We'll bring it back to the board. Do we have any questions for Ms. Hutz? Are there any outstanding comments for the plan layout from staff?
Oh yeah, it's still undergoing technical review. Yeah.
Okay.
If there's any major changes to the layout, that comes as a result of technical review comments, then it would come back.
Okay. And since this is a conservation subdivision, I can't quite recall, but so does this layout match what we saw when it came through as a conservation subdivision?
Yeah, there is actually a gas line easement, so the buffer was, the perimeter buffer was actually expanded from 50 feet to 70 feet so that they could accommodate the plantings in a type C buffer.
Okay.
So that was definitely, a positive increase, to increase that from 50 to 70 feet. But yes, each phase should be in line with the master plan.
Okay. All right.
You answered my question.
All right. I will make a motion to approve the project layout and street names contingent upon TRC, addressing all the TRC comments.
I'll second.
All right. We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Moving on to public hearings. So there has been a request to move item A to the end of the agenda.
Ms. Wise, I do see that the applicant is now present, just
You're
came
good.
in, so I apologize if you wanted to move forward with that one.
Okay, yeah, let's just do them in order, that's fine. All right, so item
That's
A.
it.
I was hoping some of the colleagues of the Porter County Police Department wouldn't be here.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Lutz.
This is a request to annex 3 parcels on Highway 501 and to assign the highway commercial zoning district upon annexation. They're currently zoned highway commercial and commercial forest agriculture in the county, and the properties are currently vacant. The city's future land use map identifies the properties as highway commercial and low-density residential, or R1. Plans for the property have not been provided, but the commercial uses would extend further back than what is shown on the future land use map between highway commercial and the low-density residential. The applicant is present to explain the request, and this was advertised for a public hearing as well.
All right. Does the board have any questions for Ms. Lutz before we open it up? Alrighty, I will open it up to the public so that the applicant can hear any comments that anybody has, if there's anyone from the public who'd like to speak on this matter. Alright, I will make a motion to close public input.
Second.
Our first and a second, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, alright, sir, if you'd like to come up and state your name and,
My name is Dan Stacy. I'm here on behalf of the applicant with me, Mr. Curry. We also together represent this applicant. We work with your staff. This is a piece of property that is somewhat of a donut hole, I guess, in your city limits. It's a little bit of an outlier, and the owner would like to certainly have the availability of Conway City Services and would like to bring the property in. As Jessica indicated, it's on 501, so highway commercial zoning seems to be appropriate for that corridor. I don't think anybody would argue it's not a fairly highway commercial corridor. We don't have a final land plan, of course. We don't have final users, but we would like to provide for the services that you can provide. And we, of course, would have to come back through all of your technical reviews for any of the things we would do for stormwater, but we think this is a fairly straightforward request, but I'm happy to answer questions or provide additional information if the planning commission would like that.
okay. You guys have any questions for the applicant?
Okay, so we don't know what you're going to use the land for to zone it all highway commercial. Because right now, the future land use map just shows maybe the front, 10th of the property being highway commercial and the rest of it being R1?
Yes, sir. Our ordinance requires that if it's going less than 3 acres in size, that the request, you either have to do a future land use map amendment or it has to be consistent with the future land use map designation. In this case, the parcel is significantly more than 3 acres in size, and it is consistent with surrounding properties that are in the city limits and the county zoned highway commercial. So in that regard, even though only a small portion is designated as highway commercial, it is still consistent with properties in the area that are highway commercial.
And to Mr. Ultra's question, the general plan would be for a medical use in the rear and more traditional highway frontage uses along the 501 corridor.
And I think, so our city limits extend beyond this parcel,
Mhm.
out further along 501. So
4 Mile Road.
as far as stretching the boundaries of our city, we're still within those boundaries on this parcel.
Correct.
And that's what it's a little bit of a donut hole, for lack of a better term, in the middle of your otherwise city limits.
Okay,
So,
all right.
On the left side of that property, as we look at it, and there seems to be a buffer, or is that a utility?
I don't know for sure that's a utility easement, but it is a very long, narrow strip, which is consistent with some utility easements in the county.
it is a future road right-of-way.
Are you talking about the one between the parcels and Mercedes Drive, or are you talking about the one to the right of it?
To the right of it.
Okay, yes, that is a future roadway.
Between the existing neighborhood and this parcel is what we're talking about? Or on the other side?
No, our future roadway would be, for everybody's viewpoint here, on the left.
On the 4 Mile Road side.
So
Gotcha.
on the right side then, I guess.
Oh, on the Mercedes Drive side.
Gotcha.
Culture
That's not-
Road.
So that's
a
there's got a
house,
trailer on the
right?
front of
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
The Mercedes roadside, I think's got a trailer on the front of it, or did at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mercedes roadside.
Okay.
What is on that side?
I'm not sure what's on that.
It's not part of the parcel. that
It
we
looks
own.
like it's like 50 feet wide, maybe behind that.
It very well could have been the same thing.
Restaurant.
It's not part of our project. Mr. Curry indicated it was actually for sale. It's not something we own.
Okay.
This is where the old outer limits used to be?
One of the parcels, yes, I believe so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So, this question is probably more of a city question. When we do the future land use map and we put the highway commercial, it doesn't naturally conform to the actual lots that are there. So is the expectation for the highway commercial and the R1 behind it to be subdivided by applicants, or how does that work?
Not necessarily. I mean, properties change hands or get subdivided all the time. It could have been, maybe even before my time, there may have been a plan in the past where there was gonna be residential and that the front pieces would have been parceled off. And so maybe that was the thinking behind the future land use map being that way at the time. But starting this year, we're gonna be working on the comp plan and updating our future land use maps to kind of make sense for how the city has changed over the past decade or two. And again, this is consistent with the zoning of properties around it.
It is weird. You do see some kind of split, not split zone, but split. I mean, we see them and there's nobody that can explain
How it got that
why
way.
that was done that way. Because there's institutional turnover and we're all like, I don't know.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right, bring it back to the board for discussion. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve the request to annex the 20.4 acres as presented.
Okay, we have a first, do we have a second?
I second.
All right, we have a second from Ms. Watkins. Any further discussion? Anybody have any final thoughts, questions? Your brain looks like it's moving.
I think, I was just thinking about the neighborhood. We don't have any representatives from the neighborhood that's on the Shamrock side.
No, and it'd be worth noting that we, to my knowledge, we've not received any letters of opposition to this
Just,
request.
you know, being in their backyard, I thought maybe we'd have some sort of.
I inquired that today. If we had any.
I actually did have a phone call with one resident who is probably if would be affected, would be a resident who actually lives not on Mercedes, but kind of touches the square, the long square piece. His house kind of is catty corner to it, and he did not seem to have an issue with that
And of
request.
course, we would respect buffers if it came to any, you know, respecting these property owners. Okay.
Okay, all right, so we have a motion to approve on the table and a second. So all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thanks, sir. All right,
Thank you for being here.
moving on to item B, rezoning requests.
Yes, this is for Technology Boulevard. There are 3 parcels in this request. The current zoning is planned development district on 2 of the parcels and highway commercial on another one of the parcels. They would like to rezone all 3 of the parcels to high-density residential. The request will do 2 things. One, it would allow the vacant parcel, which is currently zoned highway commercial, to be developed as a multifamily development with the high-density residential standards. And 2, it would zone the existing university suites BD to a base zoning district of R3 and remove the planned development status that has been in place since before the state Supreme Court ruling on the validity of planned developments occurred in 2010. University suites plans were approved in 2007, which likely means the zoning of a PD was secured before then. And today, the requested zoning of a PD for the proposed use would not be valid. Adjacent uses include commercial. Food Line Shopping Center abuts the vacant parcel. Conway Medical Center is also within walking distance of the subject property, as well as Horry Georgetown Technical College and Coastal Carolina University campuses. There are already sidewalks along Technology Boulevard, with the exception of property yet to be developed on, and there are several outlets for vehicular access to 501. The Singleton Ridge Electrical Substation is located on one side of the vacant parcel, requesting to be zoned R3. And on the other side are medical offices, fast food establishments also in the area. Coastal Heights subdivision abuts the existing development, which is an established single-family subdivision. Several lots within Coastal Heights have been annexed over the years, which is likely to continue. The rezoning of these properties would allow for the development of the vacant parcel, which would include 24 additional units per their proposed site plan. If the rezoning is granted, the Technical Review Committee will review the civil site plans as well. The applicant is present, and this too was advertised for a public hearing.
Okay. Does the board have any initial questions or thoughts for Ms. Hubbs? Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public. If there's anyone here from the public who would like to speak on this issue. Means I know what you guys are here for. There's only one left. All right, I will make a motion to close public input.
Second.
First and a second, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Hello.
Hello, David Schwerd, Diamond Shores. We have provided an actual sample of what we're providing on this. It'll be the same operators as existing University Suites, so it's just an expansion of their existing program. It's a slightly different product, but it still stays in line with the smaller product. It's a 2-story. Each of the units are 2 bedrooms, so 12 units in each building. There's enough parking for every bedroom to have its own parking space, as well as a couple guest parking spaces. Meets all fire access, existing stormwater, wetlands have already been delineated. There are none on the property. You can see there's the current proposed elevations for that. But it is the same operator as the existing one on the other side of the street, which, if you're not familiar with, it's pretty interesting because it was one of the first projects in Horry County to use pervious pavement as part of its stormwater system to be able to infiltrate more of the water back into the ground without having so much runoff. I don't know that we'll choose to use that on the other side, but it is an interesting thing. If you ever want to go out there and look at it, you wouldn't notice the difference without seeing it, but it is there. But it is the same operator. It's the entrance road to the Horry Georgetown Tech in Coastal Carolina, so it's an ideal location for student housing to keep them from having to get out on 501 and 544 or even having to walk across those roads. So the idea is to expand the use where it's most needed and as close proximity to where they're actually going to be going to school. So.
All right.
And they will be providing a sidewalk in front of their portion as required by the ordinance. So.
Okay. Y'all got any questions for the applicant?
Yes. Okay. My office is right behind Horry Georgetown Tech. I work for disabilities and special needs.
Mm-hmm.
The 4-way stop, I've had to call Coastal to have their police officer there because they constantly never stop. So going through and adding these apartments is going to go through and increase traffic. There have been students that have almost been hit, and I've also had to go through and have the intellectually disabled adults have almost been hit there too, with our vans coming and going. So this is going to go through and add to that congestion. Have we looked at going through and doing a traffic study on Technology Boulevard with adding all of these apartments? Because it's a 2-lane road right now, and it's a cut through for the folks that are in the neighborhood, and everything else right now that's coming through to Tech and to Coastal. And I'm just concerned that we're going to be overrunning Technology Boulevard because it's tough. Because even when we added the road that now cuts through all the way down to Burning Ridge and in front of Walmart, they're using that as a cut through all the way up.
Middle Ridge.
And it's extremely busy, and I'm worried that we're going to go through and actually have one of those kids get hit with adding even more traffic there.
As far as a traffic study goes, the city of Conway did amend our ordinance to require traffic studies for any project that they saw needed one. But to tell you whether or not that's something that would be required at this time, it wouldn't be able to be required as part of the rezoning request.
Okay.
If they were doing like a planned development district or something like that, we could possibly require it then. The police department and public works will review this when it gets to that point for site plan review and determine if that is necessary. And I don't know if Mr. Sherd.
And we're more than happy to, if during the technical review they decide to do it, we do our traffic studies. I do them personally, so very familiar with them. But once again, we're talking about 24 units total. That's all we physically can fit on this site. So we're not talking about 200 units. It's 24 units.
And technically, the current zoning of highway commercial, they could put a gas station or a convenience store.
Oh, no, I get
or
that. I'm
something
just
like
saying-
that too. Yeah.
But I'm
Adding
more than
anything
happy
over there
to-
to Technology Boulevard, we're just gonna add more to a 2-lane road.
And
Yeah.
as somebody who does traffic, if they require it, we're more than happy to do it and suggest any improvements that maybe the city can help work with tech to implement on the intersection. There could be some additional safety improvements that might be necessary at that intersection. Because I know what you're talking about, and there could be things like that we've incorporated in downtown Conway to slow traffic down and make it safer for pedestrians to cross. That might be implemented there because there are a lot of students who are late driving down that road.
Well, that and they're on the little motorbikes and they don't care, and they're on the motorized little scooter things, and they're in and out of
As
the
one
traffic.
has been on
and so,
many
yeah.
many university
Yeah.
campuses, that is unfortunately a universal.
I just don't want to see
scenario.
anybody get hurt. And I mean, I don't mind adding the apartments. It's just like we got to do something with the traffic.
More than happy, like I said, when it comes in, that suggests some improvements that we can put at the intersection.
As a matter of fact, when it does get to the point for site plan review, I'll make sure that I add that comment in there, in our comments for our department, that planning commission was concerned with the possibility of additional safety issues that would result as a part of this development.
We can finish that. It's a follow-up question to the same thing. Are these two communities going to be sharing amenities?
It's the same operator for both, so anything, they'll have the same management company on site to operate.
I mean, I guess the question is about safety crossing the street then. Like, would there be, if we're gonna share the pool on one
You can
side
go
of the
back
road
to the
and they live on the
overall.
other side, are we gonna do a crosswalk?
Aerial.
Are we gonna do,
actually, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry.
cause
There you go.
is there a pool on the?
Yeah, there is a pool that's on that facility, and like I said, if we go in and we establish sidewalks on the sides, we'll have to follow any of the requirements of technical review.
So, I mean, we'd have to have a crosswalk there.
I mean, I'm not against the development. Don't get me wrong there. We need to clean up that lot behind Food Line because we've had homeless problems there. We've had little fires that have been built in there. I'm totally for that. I'm just worried about the traffic. You make a good point with them crossing back and forth to the street.
Well,
I will say this, it's not something that we can require that they do, that they share the amenities. They might have their own amenities. I think for this particular parcel, they're proposing to pay the fee in lieu of open space. And what that would mean is that they would have to get us an appraisal done, showing the property as if it were already developed per their site plan, and then that open space fee in lieu would have to go to Planning Commission for review and approval, as well as City Council for approval, if that is indeed what they
So
plan to do.
we'll be back, in other words, when we get to that point,
I'm just thinking,
which probably won't be too many months from now,
If
so.
you put a bunch of college students on one side of the road and then we've got a pool on the other side, I'm thinking that there's gonna be some traffic, so some foot traffic and we wanna be safe. And they're not gonna walk down to the street corner to cross the road right there, and we're having the same issue on 544. We're
Yeah,
just
they don't walk
crossing
to the
over
crosswalk.
whenever, so.
Well, I think one of the things that we may wanna look at in the future, not specifically for this project, but maybe a overall road improvement project that is jointly with the city and the county and the state to improve that. to make it an overall completely different kind of cross-section that fits more with institutional needs. But obviously, a 24-unit project can't do that by itself. But
No, for sure.
we're more than happy to suggest some designs or improvements that maybe could be used
And the
for funding alternatives through GSATs or something like that in that location, or some
And-
safety improvements through DOT.
the buffer between the back of that lot and the food line is just a 15-foot vegetation buffer. Is that right? Is that it's the
There'll be a
type B?
fence
You
in
gotta
there
put a
as
fence
well.
there. I was just
Yeah.
saying, like, we've
Yeah.
gotta separate those.
Yeah, there'll be a fence located in that location, even if it's not in the plans. I
Okay.
assure you there will be a fence that separates the two. Just for the safety of the residents
And-
internal to the apartments, not
Yeah.
for the food line people that are in the back.
It's a 15-foot buffer, but it's a 20-foot rear yard setback in R3.
And we had planned to put a fence in that location, so.
So is Technology Boulevard, is that a city or a county? Who owns that road?
I believe it is a city road. I'm not 100% sure.
It is.
Okay, just thinking about who we could talk to for all these measures.
Well, I think it's gonna be a combination thing
Yeah.
where you're probably gonna need participation from Tech, Coastal,
Yeah,
the city of Conway, and potentially SCDOT controls the intersection where the roundabout was installed, so.
gotcha, okay.
Did the city put the speed bumps?
Behind Tech.
I believe
On
those
technology.
originally ones were put in by Tech, if I
The one-
remember,
the
but
road
that's
that
been a
runs
long time
behind
ago.
Tech, I think, is
Yeah.
owned by Tech, because they shut
Yes.
it down and charge you to go through there for parking, and when Coastal's.
Yeah, I believe the city stops at the road that comes back out to the front between the parking lot and Technical
Yeah.
College. But those bumps were added a long time ago because of speeding through that area.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's all my questions.
Okay. All right, anybody got any other thoughts, or anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve the request to rezone, as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, sir.
And Jessica, thanks for noting those concerns.
Yeah, I think those are all good points. All right, and then, so item C, we've had a request to defer. So I'd like to, if it's okay with the board, still hold the public input portion of this, since we have public here. Okay,
And I'll just give a brief overview. I didn't prepare anything, but this is the Carson's Ferry Plan Development. It's also known as the Rivertown Landing Plan Development. They are wanting to amend the list of permitted uses on Commercial Tract A. It's approximately 4.24 acres in size. Most of it is the pond that you see fronting 501 beside Jordan's nursery. This tract only allows a very limited number of commercial uses. I think an ice cream shop is one of them, or a cafe. There's like 4 uses that I believe are noted on this request: baked goods stores, cafes, restaurants, candy, confectionery stores, and ice cream stores. The other tract across from it that also has frontage on 501, which is Commercial Tract B, that was amended in 2022. It had limited uses that were allowed, and ultimately in 2022 it was amended to allow any use that was permitted in the Highway Commercial District. And this tract is the last solely commercial district for Carson's Ferry, and the applicant would just like to add additional uses and make it more of a mixed-use tract to allow commercial uses on bottom floors and residential uses on upper floors. With that, I'll be happy to try and answer any questions that you have. The applicant is present as well, but they are requesting to defer this until the May meeting.
okay. So if we're deferring though, do we need to not, if I open it up for public input, we can cover that, but we don't necessarily talk to the applicant? That would be for next meeting? Or can we
Yeah, I
do it
mean,
for
you
both?
can, yeah, you can ultimately, you can talk with the applicant, or you know, and get more information if you'd like it now, or you can hold the public hearing and then, make a motion to defer if that's what you would like to do. Yes.
All right. Does the board have any initial thoughts, questions for Ms. Hux? Okay. All right. I will open it up to the public if there's anybody who would like to just state your name and address for us.
Okay, my name is Robert J. Stevens. My address is 1400 Riverport Drive. I am the president of the HOA of the Carson's Ferry development, about 68 homes. I want you to know that I'm not happy. I'm missing happy hour, so I'm really upset. No, but in all seriousness, when we got the zoning request and I started calling the commission's office, we didn't really have, I've had the opportunity to talk to David over here who represents the applicant. We were hearing that multi-tenant residential was being asked for on this parcel. I don't know if you've ever been by or seen this. It's a very odd little parcel. Like you said, most of it's on water. But our real concern is that it is right on top of our pool amenity. When the Carson's Ferry development was first initiated, I think it was back in 2008, Tripp Neely, who was the developer, went ahead and built the pool and the pool house before he built anything, and then the market crashed in 2008, and they lost that property. They were selling memberships of the pool to Tiger Grand, and then finally, about 6-7 years ago, he started developing again the Carson's Ferry development, and even his plan changed because Riverport Drive, which is right in front of where the main drag going through from 501, is really wide, and the initial plan, I believe, was to have like mixed use, like he's saying, commercial on the first floor and residential on top, but now it's just all, single family homes. So when we heard that there was an application for residential use, multi-tenant residential use, our collective hairs on our necks stood up because now we've got residential right on top of our pool amenity. And historically, the past 5-6 years, we've, I don't want to say struggled, but certainly we've had to deal with an incident rate of trespassing in our pool, over the fence, in the pool house area, that is really more than we care to live with. Once again, I had the opportunity to speak with David here, and I know that you've deferred this, but I think what we need as residents is a very detailed plan relative to the proximity of whatever is built on that property to our pool and our pool amenity. I mean, we have this nice quiet community with this pool, which is, it's 1,000 yards from 501. And we really aren't looking forward to having, a 2-story building 50 feet away where people are peering into the pool where we want to be private or whatever, It just seems like it takes away from the exclusivity of our amenity for our community. David has spoken to me previously and said that the applicant is willing to possibly meet with our HOA and our residents to come up with a plan that would be satisfactory to both sides, which I'm certainly amenable to, but I don't know how we'd pull that off, or I guess I would leave that to you and your applicant. Also, we have concerns too with traffic. The way you look at that development there, and once again, have any of you been in this area? It's behind the Ichiban restaurant, right? The entrance to that facility that they're talking about developing it's kind of a side street, very small street. I don't know what kind of traffic that would generate. You've already got traffic coming up and down Riverport Drive, out of Rivertown Row, out of Tiger Grand, people going to 501. And that intersection right there, that entrance right near Ichiban on 501 it's kind of tricky sometimes, and I can tell you that from experience because I had an accident there in October. It's just a lot of people don't even go out there. They go out the Culture Road, drive through Tiger Grand and go out Culture Road because it's just simpler. So there are many concerns relative to how many units, what type of units, the height of the unit, how far away are they from our pool amenity. Now, I don't know, there's a possibility, and once again, after speaking with David, there's a possibility that we could make that residential property, or whatever you want to call it, that development, part of our HOA. I don't know if we could do that, or if we could annex that to have them abide by the rules of our HOA.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but like one more minute.
Oh,
It's like,
okay,
it's like a 5-minute kind of window.
Oh, all right, well, I'm sorry. I was on a roll.
No, you're good.
So anyway,
Sometimes we have like 20, 30 people, so we
I
gotta kinda keep it
understand,
moving.
I apologize. I'm a first timer, bear with me. Given those arguments from me, and given what I've had the opportunity to talk with David about, I guess there's more discussion to be had. When you say deferred, I guess we're gonna have another meeting on it?
Next month.
So if the board.
Next month?
If the board votes to defer, yes, we'll speak about it next month. So
And then
that,
we'll come there as well. And then-
yeah, so that would give you time with the applicant to, if you had a neighborhood meeting or whatnot in between now and then.
Okay.
And I just want to note that with public hearing being held, it's not required that another public hearing be held
Right.
next month, even with the deferral.
Right,
Of course, there will be a public input section at the
Right.
beginning of the agenda, but it is not required that you hold the public hearing again
right.
next month.
So
And you
next,
publish
so
that on the
next,
planning and zoning website?
yes, sir, it'll be advertised again.
Okay.
So next month, if we choose to defer next month on this particular subject, you can speak about it in the initial public input, which is at the beginning of the meeting, that first one, but we won't hold it again specifically when we talk about this item.
Okay,
So,
all right, well, I guess I don't have anything else.
thank you for
We're
your
way out of
input, for
time.
coming.
Sorry about that, thanks,
No,
guys.
It's
you're
okay.
good. Thank you, sir.
Could I add?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Each person gets,
Oh,
each person gets like 5 minutes. That's
Okay,
why
I
we,
just have a
yeah,
moment.
if you just say your name and address for the
My name
record.
is Maureen Hettinger, and I live at 1617 Carson's Ferry.
Thank you.
And I go to work every day, going out of there and having to take a left on 501, because unless you work out toward Ainer, you've got to go that way, and I've done that for years. It's dangerous right now, and if we get high-density housing in there, it's only going to magnify that. So I think that's a very important issue.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Maureen.
I'm Russ Mio, I'm at 1623 Carter Ferry, and like she's saying that pulling out onto 501, I almost got hit twice. I used to drive 10 years around here, and I'm a good driver, and I'm telling you, at 501, they're not doing 45, 50, they're doing almost 70. And I pulled out, it was 200 feet, and the guy almost hit me. I thought he hit the back of the car, but he didn't, he missed me. And and the city won't put a traffic light that Rivertown Road. And if you're coming from the west and going east, and you want to pull in there, if we went to the restaurant, you wouldn't see the road. Because we wanted to put a light right on the end, because there's a double road coming out, but there's an island in the center. You can't see that coming down. If it's raining, it's almost impossible. Now, I got pretty good sight. I got 20/20 vision. But it's hard to see that way. Going the other way, going west, turning in, you can use the restaurant sign, you know where the road is, but there ought to be a light on the end. So there ought to be a lot of improvement. And the city won't put a light in there because they got one up at the school and they got one up there by the theater. So they won't put a light in between because they said it's too close. So even they put in, say, a commercial building in there and you add another 25, 30 cars, you sometimes wait 4 cars in front of you to get out there to go to the left. Not considering the traffic going each way. And and I'm a good driver. I was a tractor trailer driver back in the 60s, but, I mean, I'm not a race driver, but, you know, when people are coming up on you, it seems like they don't let up. You know, you don't want to cut in front of them, But I mean, you're 200 feet, you figure you got enough time to get out into the lane. And when you're pulling out, you don't know whether you're going into the middle lane or the oncoming lane coming the other way, because you're watching traffic each way and you forget where you are when you're pulling out. So I go to Tiger Grand, I come out that way. It's a little longer, but it's a little safer. So if you put, you put condos in there, or you put like, you take restaurants in bottom and you put the houses on top, you're getting a lot of more traffic, plus the business coming in and out. So that's my opinion. Okay? If they go to maybe private residence, it might be okay, but like you said, the clubhouse is right on the back side of that, and if you got a two-story house, they'd be looking right in the pool. And nobody wants to be a spectacle when you're swimming, not really.
Especially our age.
Yes, yeah, especially nowadays, right? So, and like you say, people try jumping in the pool, but that's like a kid thing where they want to go swimming, so they jump in the pool, jump over the fence. So instead of using the gate. That's my opinion, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Craig Anderson, 2450 Community Drive, Carson's Ferry. Again, with all of the other concerns that everybody had, everybody has the same thing. Our biggest concern, of course, is the pool area, and possibly if we could have whatever is developed there when it comes to it, if there can be at least a 6-foot fence that they install along the property line. That would help at least try to keep people from coming into the pool area. Again, like I said, we have people jumping the fence and everything else now, so that's our biggest concern if we get a lot of people coming in that area. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, anybody else? All righty, I will make a motion to close public input.
Second.
All right.
We'll flip forward, shake the hat.
I'm the same as Watkins can have it. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, all right. Do we want to hear from the applicant? Might as well, since he's here. All right, cool.
I mean,
We'll keep it quick since it is being deferred and your time is as valuable as anything. We're more than happy to meet with the community to try to come up with some ideas or suggestions. Obviously, we have some constraints on the property. It's commercially zoned already, so the non-development development is always an issue when you have these kind of, everybody wants it to stay, not stay, but hearing some of the issues, I think there's some ways that maybe the development of this parcel can actually address some of the concerns that they have through fencing, screening, landscaping. And as far as traffic goes, I don't know if you've got a copy of the plan, but the plan was basically 6 or 7 units with commercial, small type commercial on the bottom and residential above. So we're not talking, a 4-story multifamily apartment complex or anything like that. We're talking something that actually still meets the requirements of the PDD, because unfortunately most of the other commercial has been pulled out of it. So trying to get that whole mixed use component and keep it in there so that it's still a compliant development, and while still not bringing a bunch of traffic, because if anything, I would put an ice cream store or something back there, and now you got people coming from outside of the community into there and adding even more traffic. But we're more than happy to go and bring some designs out there with actual elevation drawings and landscape plans, and so meet them out there at their pool or wherever they so choose, so that we can go through those plans and come up with some ideas. And now that the weather's warmer, it's a good place to do it. So
Okay.
we're more than happy to meet the community. So I hope that you approve the request for deferral so that we can address the technical comments that we received from staff, as well as have an opportunity to meet with the community and try to address some of their concerns through design.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So also to you, I guess, sorry, I just said thank you, but my concern, and just to give you some of my feedback on looking at the plan, so there was a 30-foot setback, right, from the main road in there existing on that parcel, and now there's a 0-foot setback. So my concern is that it's right on that curve, on that bend, and it's like the entrance into the neighborhood. So I'm not necessarily opposed to what I'm seeing as far as like the changes and the mixed use and all that. It's more so the setback change request that has me a little concerned. Just for when if we're deferring, food for thought kind of
Is it
thing.
the unit 6 at the top?
It's the last unit up top.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, it's like right on it.
And that's what we're here, like I said, we're not in a giant hurry to get this thing deferred. We're here to make a plan that works as best as you can make it work for everybody.
Yeah.
Not everybody will always be happy on
Yeah.
anything.
I think it's a good opportunity if we defer to let the applicant meet with the homeowners. Sounds like they can talk through some things, make some,
But I'm
better
more than happy
understanding.
to hear more if you have any other comments or questions.
No, that was just
So we
something.
can incorporate those in the
Yeah, I
design.
wanted to express
have
why you
any-
had a chance.
Do you have any plans for the existing pond, if you will?
Sure.
Only it's deep enough to truly call a pond.
Yes, actually, if you see on the plan, and I don't have a pointer or anything to represent, but the pond is actually being relocated. Since you're looking this direction, the pond, which currently sits here, is being relocated right here.
I was referring to the larger body of water at
That
the bottom.
pond?
Staying
No, no,
the
no,
same.
That pond, no, there's no development. It was just part of the parcel because it was left over when the original developer subdivided it out and added it to that property. So no, there's nothing planned for that.
Yeah, staff wouldn't support that. As a matter of fact, let's see if I can. If you look at the, I guess it'd be your far right, that stormwater plan, it takes all the stormwater, the original stormwater master plan, takes all of the water to that pond, and it's completely within a flood zone. So we wouldn't support any type of filling in or trying to develop on top of that.
And I don't support designs of anything in the flood zone, so.
Is there any way we could fix it and address it?
Is there something particular that you want to address with it? So I can bring it back to the
I've
owner?
talked to people that actually surveyed that pond, and they said it wasn't even a pond. They walked through it.
Oh, I would believe
So-
that it was never designed as a stormwater pond. It was
Yeah.
taken an existing wet area and then turned into a pond with a control structure.
Mm-hmm. I just want to make sure when we're developing, if it were to be developed, it's not adding to that problem, to the
No,
elevation being so close.
the
to
volume
the
that we have would actually, the way our system is designed, that piece of property was designed to actually go into that pond that's being relocated on the site. That was the entire stormwater for that leftover piece. So our new piece would have to meet the requirements in terms of slowing the water down and in capacity, so.
Carson's Ferry involved a lot more property. At the beginning, well, I say a lot more property, but it actually had the orange piece that you see on your far left was part of it, and that's now part of Rivertown Road. And that contained 2 stormwater ponds. It also contained most of the, well, a lot of the amenities, because originally there wasn't even a pool and a clubhouse planned. But when they removed that one parcel, which is Track C, that's when the proposed pool and clubhouse came into play to kind of make up for what they were taking away when they removed commercial Track C, and that was sold to Rivertown Road North for development.
And now we're left trying to clean up the last of the properties, basically, and make it still a compliant.
Yeah, staff would not support single family because there's been so many amendments that have taken away more commercial. The multifamily portion that was supposed to originally be on this tract, that was taken away and converted to single family. So we need to keep a commercial component, and in doing so, if you can have a mixed use, which is really what the entire PD was meant to be in the first place, then at least you're keeping the planned development in compliance with state law.
So random question about your plan too. Are you not allowed to have access off of Riverport?
No, they would be too close because that's the high volume road,
Okay.
and we're only talking, I mean, we could still have units and commercial access out there, but
And is the orientation of the building such that you want to have it facing
the
Riverport?
yes.
Because that was-
The idea is, since it is a mixed use, that the commercial entrance would be from the front, sort of like Market Commons, where you have commercial entrance on the front, residential entrance on the back to the upper floors.
I guess so in theory, in the building you have up here, so the bottom floor of the middle unit would be a breezeway so that you could access front and back?
Currently, that is, the intent is potentially to leave that open entirely so that it becomes a
Okay.
courtyard.
So I guess where I'm going is to solve the setback issue. I know it wouldn't be facing Riverport, but can you rotate the whole building 90 degrees? so that it's parallel to that Jordan Benjamin Clarence, something like that. Just, I think there's ways to kind of massage the
We can't
plan.
move to turn it to the 90 degrees to the right. There's not enough frontage there because they have a lot of their clubhouse parking and stuff is actually in the street. It backs directly into the road. So if we turned it and rotated it, it would have some
Like
issues.
rotated it and pulled it back.
Plus, putting a driveway onto the main entrance on the curve, there's an median island there, so I don't have the ability to make it full access. So I have to come in off of that side to have any
Well, I'm
kind of.
thinking keep that, but just if you wrote, I don't know. Anyways, I don't want to get into your plan. Just kind of
No,
looking
no,
at
we're more
different
than,
ways
but
of
I'm more than
respecting
happy
the
to look at the
setbacks.
setback
Yeah.
issue that you have on that front. I don't know that we need to pull it back from the road, but maybe pull it back from the intersection so that it doesn't impinge visibility. Is more the issue. Maybe we rotate it to be parallel with the angle of the road
Yeah,
more,
play with it.
so that you can see around it. You know, if
Mm-hmm.
we just, instead of going 90 degrees to the right, we go 30 degrees, which opens up the view corridor for people pulling out onto the
Yeah.
road. I think that would be the better option in that location. It may potentially cause the loss of a unit, but right now there's no units, so the loss of one unit is better than no units, right? So we're really trying to find a project that keeps the mixed use, addresses their concerns for privacy, and as far as traffic, this is about as low volume as I can make it and still
Yeah,
be
there's not much you
compliant.
can get on that side.
I can't go much lower volume than what this proposal is, but we can do things like change the orientation of the buildings to make it safer at the intersection. We can do things like adding fencing along their property line to give them some more security, as well as the additional landscaping will be required. We can
Right.
go with taller plants, so.
Okay.
But those are things I hope to address with the HOA out there.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good meeting. All right.
Before I step back, last time I stepped back, she came up with.
I know, I'm sorry. Forgot I had questions. All
Thank you very much.
right, thank you.
And you will need to vote on the deferral
Yep.
as well.
Any other questions? I'll make a motion to defer, but I would like to go through though and include in that deferral motion the option to have public input.
For this again. Yeah.
I like it.
How does that go through as a motion?
Just like that.
Just like that?
It's really, yeah, I was just stating that you don't have to have public hearing, but there's been instances where public hearing was allowed when items were deferred and brought back. It's just not required.
So in my motion, I want to have the public input with the
Okay,
deferral.
I'll second that. All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you to the neighbors for coming out as well. So it'll, I guess, it's up to the applicant if he arranges a meeting with you guys in the meantime, but as far as the board is concerned, this will be on next month's agenda. So it'll be the first Thursday of next month, which,
May 1st.
May 1st. Yes, ma'am.
And we'll have the same public hearing that we had today. So there'll be an opportunity to speak right before as we're addressing that item.
All right, moving on to board input. So as always, thank you guys for coming.
What,
Thank
no
you, staff,
text
for your hard work.
Thank you,
Come on now, you guys are getting.
I'm over it for a while. No, I think you might have one coming next month. If not next month, in June, you'll. There's actually a lot of text amendments that came out of budget retreat that. So don't get too comfortable. I'm sure by
She's
June,
still
July,
typing is
you'll.
what she's saying.
I just need my nighttime bed sleeping materials.
Binders
you
looking thin right now. All right.
Yeah, no joke, the binder's thin, exactly.
All right, and then do we have any staff input? All right, motion to adjourn.
Amen.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye. Happy Easter, everybody.
Thank you for all you do, man.